With infinite complacence, people went to and fro over the earth about their little affairs, serene in the assurance of their dominion over this small, spinning fragment of solar driftwood, which by chance or design man has inherited out of the dark mystery of time and space.
On this episode of Into the Fray, no, it is not just myself. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're like, where is the other half? Well, he's here. He's just going to be anonymous for this chat. And of course, there will be no video. You'll just be seeing myself. And also, if the voice sounds a little strange, it's because for the first time, I got to play with voice alteration in DaVinci Resolve. So if the voice sounds a little odd, no, it's not a completely made up voice. I would never ever do that. A whole thing is not fabricated by chat GPTs. It is just voice alteration in beautiful DaVinci Resolve. So, hello, anonymous guest, and welcome to Into the Fray.
Hey, Shannon, thank you. This is all AI. Stop lying. This is all things.
The whole 10 years. I mean, if you didn't know, I actually came up with ChatGPT 10 years ago, and I've been using it the whole time. Joke's on all of you.
Right. Thanks for having me.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. So I don't know how much you want to share in the beginning about how much we talked about this a little before we officially started, but how much you've been feeling like you wanted to share with people maybe just set up how you feel about what you are going to be sharing today.
Yeah, so what I'm going to be sharing is mostly around, this whole idea of potentially connecting to a Sasquatch through whatever type of mind speak potentially happens, as well as some powers of like sleep and the idea of remote viewing and how this kind of comes into play with some Sasquatch, activity potentially. But then also maybe addressing and touching a little bit on, why this all came about, how long it's been happening. So hopefully this doesn't turn into too much of a therapy session, because that's not fun for anyone.
It usually does for both sides. So don't worry about that. We all just get it out here,
Yeah, right.
And it's all about tangents. So yeah, wherever you wanted to begin.
Yeah, well, we can start with, this was during a time when I was having some anxiety, and I don't know why this was so prevalent, a few years ago. Now it's subsiding, although, it peaks up every now and then. And I was going through, this is kind of one of the big reveal moments, and this kind of set precedents for, my story here, where I was actually going to some therapy and was telling, I can't actually remember now what came first, how I kind of knew that I had an ability, although I've never really tapped into it, but had this ability to potentially remote view. And for those who might not know what that means, it's basically you can see something or see someone doing something, without even being there, right? It's like you're behind a door, but yet you can see what's happening on the other side. So I'll kind of go with this first instance where I was going through some therapy, and my therapist was, he seemed very open to this idea, and he seemed like he was able to relate almost to some type of, whether it was intuition, whether it was, him being somewhat psychic on certain things, whatever it is. And so I was like, oh, that's cool. And I actually was wondering, like, man, I always dabbled with the idea of, could someone, like, how, if someone be a teacher of this? And like, I know that there are plenty of people out there who do remote viewing, but like some of them get recruited by the CIA or whatever it might be, right? Like you hear those stories. And so it's like, I don't know how far down the rabbit hole I want to go. But I kind of heard him speak about this, and I said, okay, well, and we talked about it a little bit. So I think it was like, I wrote some for a couple sessions, and this is why I'm more on personal things. But then I went to sleep one night, and I had a dream, and this was where, if you've ever seen Stranger Things, where Eleven actually there's this dark space, but then the light is only on the individuals in this space. That's exactly how I saw this therapist. And there was a woman like on the ground, and I think she was wearing white or something, but like had it stick, and she was writing in the sand. Like I could see this so vividly. And I said, okay, what are you doing? And the therapist in my dream said, this is a test, and I need you to tell me the next day, like our next session, of what you're seeing here, so that I can kind of judge like your ability. And I was like, okay. And I said, well, what's the woman doing? And like she was writing, and I said, what's her name? And I heard very vividly, no, this is kind of important, but like Darlene. And so when I said, okay, well, she's writing something, I didn't see exactly what she was writing, and that was all it was. And then I kind of woke up, and I just remembered, okay, I got to remember that there was a woman that this therapist in my dream was telling me to, to talk to him about it, our next session. So I did. And when I kind of mentioned something to you, I was like, I did have a dream about you. He seemed surprised. Oh, really? But I said, do you happen to know someone named Darlene? And I kind of explained to him what I saw, and the fact that she was trying to write with like a stick in the sand. And he goes, well, I have a sister, Carlin, and she has a problem with like speech, like, so we only can write to each other. And I was like, okay, does this dream mean anything to you? And I've just now like tapped into the fact that I was a letter off from your sister's name, and like got into this really personable situation, like where you and her have difficulty communicating because she only writes and things like that. And he's like, yeah, it's a little unsettling because I don't, I would have never thought that you would have come to me with that type of thing. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But then I started to kind of explore that a little bit more. And for me, and I think there's a lot of folks out there who kind of tap into this, again, remote viewing or whatever you want to call it, as they're sleeping. Or like I found for me, it's very clear, as is like more of the after 3 a.m. point, like just as you're kind of about to wake up. So I started to kind of play around with this, and asking my friends if they would kind of like just see if you can hide something, right? And I'm willing to show or at least share with you, Shannon, like kind of, I don't know how I would show you the pictures. I can email you later, but I said, okay, go and gather some things and go hide them. And let me see if I can tell you like what you hid them in and what exactly was in the box or whatever bag or whatever it might be. So the first thing I said was, okay, here's kind of what I received. And I'm reading this text between my friend and I. And I said, okay, some type of a balloon, a folded red sweatshirt with black writing, it almost sounds like a jersey, a brownish leathery wallet with contents laid out, cards, pieces of paper, and the container was like I see a small glass blue bottle There's a cigar type box. And so, I'll try to see if I can show this up to the screen, but that's basically all what it is. You see the bottom, you see the kind of the folded black and red item, and then there's a box. It looks like a cigar box and another wallet. And so it was interesting to me that was in this friend lives across the country, but yet here I am being able to kind of determine some of this stuff. And he later went on to say how this balloon, granted it wasn't in the box, but yet he is like haunted by this like blue and silver star balloon that literally he'll be doing something and like hiking in the woods, and sure enough, there is this silvery bluish star balloon that'll just be like there. Go on, go ahead, Shannon. What's your questions?
It just no, it's so nope. The balloon thing. Sorry. Even before Pennywise and all of that. No. Nope. Okay. So, your friend sets this box up, and then the balloon and all these other things, and those are the targets, right? They call them targets.
Yeah. I don't know enough about this, so yeah, you're gonna have to educate me.
I mean, I just know some of the buzzwords. I suppose that's probably the end of my high knowledge of remote viewing right there, is I know one word.
Yeah.
So how long so he puts these things away. How long was this? Okay, let me ruminate over this overnight. Did you sleep on it? How did it come to you?
I literally did this within a day or so. Like, he did it one evening. I said, okay, let me sleep on it. I told him the next day.
Told him the next day. How many things did you accurately guess?
Well, there was only 4 items in the box, and one of which was a maybe, and he needed to check. But I said balloon, a folded red sweatshirt, black writing. That turned out to be a Phillies, kind of a Philadelphia Flyers hockey jersey that he would always wear. Brownish leathery wallet, that was accurate. Pieces of cards, pieces of paper, and he's like, I am notorious for always having like little receipts, little pieces of paper, things that I write down in my wallet, and I didn't know that. Containers, what I saw was a small glass bottle, that was accurate. A cigar box, that was accurate. Water bottle, like a thermos. Well, there's like a gold little, I don't know if you can see it, but like there's like a gold little thermos full of, they could put liquid in. So pretty accurate enough to where it freaked me out. It freaked him out a little bit. I talked to another friend where I said, okay, let's you, and he was in Colorado, so this person was in Oregon, this other friend was in Colorado, and I said, okay, well, let me try it again and see what happens. And this time I couldn't guess any contents, what was inside the box, not accurately enough, but I guessed the actual box perfectly. This is where it was. I said, I saw this, if you ever seen the movie Hellraiser, that cube, it looked exactly like the Hellraiser cube box. And so I was able to see that. Now, again, granted, I didn't see what was inside, but I saw the box, and so I was like, okay, at least I was trying to give myself a little credit for having some type of ability to do this. So it's like, okay, 50-50. But it kind of, I didn't know how far to explore this, because again, it was kind of pairing with the anxiety that I was having at the time, and didn't know how deep down this well I wanted to go, and like what this would mean for, my future self, and just it's extremely low for my comfort, but yet kind of battling with, well, this could be very interesting. This could, do I want to? Do I not want to? So, but I leaned towards mostly of the not wanting to, but ever so often, like, I'll kind of tap into it to be like, let me just see if this still holds up. Um, but when I started sort of getting more towards the Bigfoot side of things,
Before you go there,
for
can
sure,
I just interject really quick? I'm sorry. So, do you think, and you won't know the answer, but do you think that the fact that the two different viewings for you, these tests were different in their success rate, do you think that is going towards your connection with the people themselves, or maybe their own abilities, maybe that they don't even know that they have, right?
I know. So, a very astute question, because the first friend I did this with is very open to him and I are very connected and um, closer than the Colorado friend. But the Colorado friend is actually a little bit more guarded on his things, and I think he would also try to play tricks. So, but the fact that I was able to, like, guess the box but not the contents, he could have changed contents. That was kind of my gut feelings, that he changed contents, like, or added something to it, right? Or moved something, so I can get a good read on it. But it very interesting question, because yeah, totally. I think totally.
Is the friend in Colorado, uh good nod to the Banshee chapter movie. Anyhow, sorry. The Colorado friend, is this a skeptical person? And then you guess the box, and were they, was he blown away? And is he like, oh my God, you got the box? Did it freak him out? Or, is he into this stuff a little bit enough to not
He
be freaked out?
he focused more on, he was like, yeah, that's weird that you guessed the box, but you didn't guess the contents, so meh, maybe you do,
He's like,
maybe you don't have, yeah, like two, yeah, kind of what, one thumb up, one thumb down type of thing.
but I would hazard to say that your thought on him maybe being a little bit of a trickster with the experiment, probably your first gut reaction to that is probably spot on. I don't know.
I would imagine so.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of goes towards me knowing the individual, whereas I think what would be interesting is if I mean, again, tip my toe in the water of asking someone who I really don't know and seeing what would happen there. Because this is
We could
always,
do it. I mean, we know each other a little now, but we've never met, and
yeah,
we've uh,
I'm I'm game if you are.
that would be an interesting experiment. I think that would be very fun. Let's do that. Okay.
Okay, okay.
Stay tuned, everyone, and let's see how that
Whoa.
goes.
Okay.
Like, put me on the spot. You know the movie Suspect Zero? I think it's Suspect Zero with Ben Kingsley. Very dark movie about remote viewing. It also has the guy that played Two-Face
Mm-hmm.
in The Dark Knight. Yes. That is a remote viewing movie, and what he
Yeah.
does, Ben is the remote viewer, and the way that he works through things is he sits and it almost seems like he's blacked out in a way. I suppose that's not how it goes, but he sketches things out, and
Mm-hmm.
it's this very cinematic thing where he's furiously sketching and drawing, and that's how things come to him, his target. When you were viewing the friend in Oregon's items, how does that look to you? When you realize, does it come as a snapshot of everything, or do things come in pieces?
No, it's actually like it took me following him in the woods of where he kind of he like literally buried this box.
Wow.
And I was actually able to follow him, watch him, but like before he put before he put the box in the ground, he like showed me all the contents. He's like,
Wow.
this is this, this is this. And again, it was kind of like this, here's their test. I'm gonna put these things in this box. I'm gonna show them to you. Put them in the box. Tell me all the now. Tell me everything, that was in the box and what did the box look like. Yeah, and kind of the same thing with the Colorado friend where it was like, here's the box, but then he like turned his back to me and he didn't want to show me what he was putting in the box.
Okay. Before you go to the Sasquatch,
Sure.
let's go to this balloon for a second, because obviously the balloon is highly tied to your friend as well. Follows him around for whatever
Yeah.
creepy ass
Right.
reason.
Yeah.
Have you thought to remote view what's going on with this damn balloon?
I mean, I haven't, just because, I mean, he told me initially, try to kind of look at this real quick to see what his response was. So she had a dog that was kind of this silvery blue type of dog, I guess, right? Who had passed away years ago from when I did this experiment. And I guess there was some anniversary that this happened. He watched a blue object propelling itself through the air just above a treetop level and turn and rotate, change directions, fly down into the forest and disappear. So, he swore it was like some, anomalous object, what he calls a, space egg. But he was convinced that what he would have seen was a balloon. And then, before the dog, I guess, passed away, he had a vision of him communicating with it and asking this dog, I guess, where it came from. So it was this whole conversation, I guess, that happened in a dream state. He did some meditating, and then I guess he ended up drawing this dog coming to Earth through space in a blue and silvery sphere. Yeah, and I mean, this gets a little heady, right? But then he would go on to say that he would be hiking in the woods and he'll just, again, this is whether it's like a silvery bluish star balloon, it's just kind of half deflated, but like kind of bouncing around, and we'll come across that. And this happened like a couple of times for this person. It's always just this silvery bluish balloon. And I mean, it's just, I can't answer why. I mean, maybe I could sleep on that, but like, I can't, that would trip anybody out if there's just this continuous, whether it's a star, whether it's just a standard balloon, whether it's like one of those happy birthday circular balloons. Either way, any type of silvery bluish balloon that's kind of popping around with you in the woods, like, I don't know what to make of that.
Yeah, certainly not normal, no matter what.
I mean, extraordinarily amazing. And the fact that this person still goes on in the woods, I think, is even more amazing.
Right? You're like, you sure you're okay?
Good.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like he has some ongoing activity. Obviously, I would hazard to say if you sat him down, he'd probably have some childhood experiences he could talk about. That's just a guess. Okay. Sasquattle time. How are we now going to Sasquattle with this?
Yeah, so I was exploring, some spirituality things and getting more tapped into like the universal side of life and the way of just being human, right? As some people do. And going to astrologists, talking to, just totally people who, can help you meditate, over, Zoom or whatever they can use, and kind of tap into your energy and things like that over a laptop, over a call, saying, okay, give that a shot. But I would call this person because saw them a couple of times, kind of like a spiritualist, and that's when I said, I told her all of these instances. She was okay. Well, maybe let's just sit with that. Let's just sit with you see things. You're tapped in. Let's just sit with that and see what happens. Well, as I was meditating, and she was just kind of, I don't even know if she was talking, but immediately I saw little bits and pieces of the Sasquatch. But immediately that is like teeth, like just like kind of like a smile, or like the back of the head, or like eyes flicker. Like you're just kind of like playing like a movie. And I told her, I was like, I don't know what to tell you here, but I'm seeing flickers of like the Sasquatch, and she knew. I think she knew at that point that I was like into that, and she was okay. Well, ask her the question, and I said, okay, well, what's your name? And but I got back, which I've never heard this name in my life. I don't watch a lot of Japanese or Korean, any type of Asian type of movies. So, but the name I got back was Yuki. So Yuki. And I didn't know why I was like, Yuki? Is that, but the way I heard it was very deep and guttural. It was almost like I heard this Sasquatch say something. And I was like, okay, well, and I told her that, and I said, I don't know what's going on here, but this is what's happening. She said, okay, just keep going. So like she did, I don't know if she knew either, but she was like, oh, let's just see where this goes. And so I said, well, okay, so your name is Yuki, but then it came into like this human voice, and she goes, and she, by meaning like the Sasquatch was a female, and she goes, yes, but my human name is Samantha. And at that point, I didn't know, or like that name was just not on my radar. And I was like, okay, or Sam, Samantha. I was like, okay. And then kind of from there on out, I would try to kind of tap into like, let's just say this is all legit, right? For those who are listening, let's just give it a breath. Let's just say that this is legit. I'm talking to this Yuki, female Sasquatch, lives somewhere Pacific Northwest, let's just say, because that's where I was always kind of drawn to. And what would happen if I just started saying, like, what are you doing? What's happening? Where are you? And I kid you not, like, I would get these flickers of this forest that I've never seen before, never had been to. And it was her saying, like, see through me. This is where I am. This is the forest. This is where I stay. And there would be plenty of times where like I would see that kind of that same, like she'd give me, take this for what it's worth, but she would give me kind of like these images, like, oh, you're always kind of in this same area. Like, do you live here? Just like, yes, I sleep here. I live here. This is where I am. And so like, it was very challenging for me because not only am I dipping my toe in like remote viewing, now I'm dipping my toe into potentially communicating with a creature that that more than half the world doesn't believe exists. So like it's a hard line to kind of like bridge, and like how do I talk about that? And I think I might have mentioned it to this friend in Oregon. He's like down with it, and we've gone out and we've tried to kind of have a see what would happen if if he brought me into the forest. Maybe we talk to this thing. Well, this is where we found ourselves. I won't mention the park specifically if that's all right, but
Yeah, of course.
we were in Washington, and then this is where we had a couple of beers. We're starting a fire and close my eyes, but then just the amount of images and like triangles and shapes and like fluorescent colors that would point. I don't smoke. I don't do drugs. I've never had that experience with having a couple of beers before and, closing my eyes at a fire. Like, it doesn't hit you like that, but something was hitting me. And, I was trying to talk to you. I was like, oh, maybe this is where she is. And, like, maybe I'll try to say, hey, Yuki, come closer. We're not, we mean you no harm, whatever it is. And I even laid out some fruit for you. Like, it's over here. It's across the river. If you don't feel safe enough, like, by all means, you don't have to cross. But if you feel like, it was trying to be as cordial as I could be. And it never really, it was kind of like, okay, I guess I have this sense that she's coming down the mountain, like she's picking up this signal. And it's not like she was showing herself to me in physical form, otherwise they could say I saw Sasquatch. But she was showing herself to me in like a mentals, like as I closed my eyes, I was like, holy goodness, you are massive. Like, you are bigger than I would have expected. And I mean, it was almost like a Mighty Joe, right? Just this massive ape figure there. And I was kind of describing it to my friend, and he's like, okay, like, go out. I'm just going to tell you, I don't see anything. That's like, no, it's okay. Let me just kind of keep describing it. Like, and it was like, okay, thank you for the fruit. This is as much as I'm going to do. Like, I don't know. I feel like I got maybe a sense of like, okay, you need to go now. Like, that's it. Like, this is as much as we can do at this point in time. But then that night, Shannon, that's where it got to just the weirdest things started happening at night. Like, I got super ill. And this friend started to do all sorts of weird things. And by weird things, I mean, like, wanted to, fix up the camp at like 2, 3 a.m. And he was just sleeping, and I didn't know if I was gonna be, if I had some type of food poisoning, or if I was going through any type of other issue. And then there was we actually had a third friend there who was going through some type of anxiety, and it was trying to help, her out. And just really bizarre things were going on that night. So I don't know if I brought something in, if I was imagining it, like, I cannot say. And the next morning, everyone was so kind of distraught about the night prior. We didn't even check the fruit. Like, we didn't even care. It was like, Mitch, let's head out. Let's get sane. Let's get healthy again. But like, and even I felt better. Like, physically, I even felt better. And it just was a weird situation.
Did you ever get a sense that, or rather of how close physically the Sasquatch came in? Did any of you get a sense of how close physically one or more of them ever were to you?
Not physically, I would only say mentally. I mean, we had a pretty good roaring fire, and we were trying to make ourselves very noticeable. I mean, we maybe heard a stick pop here or there type of a thing, but nothing that would cause us to be super startled, to be like, oh, definitely heard something. It was just kind of like someone looking over and be like, anyone catch that, right? So yeah, I wouldn't say super physical.
So, because that sounds like not a very fun time, to be honest. If you could go out and get more contact with Yuki in that way, would you still want to go out and do that again and repeat that process? Or are you going, I think I'll just do this from my living room instead?
No, I mean, it's a challenge. We were just at a location, kind of doing some camping, and what I would say fishing as a with a purpose, right? Um, and I still it's a challenge because number one, I don't know if I would ever want to experience seeing the Sasquatch because it's like brings it to life, it brings it to truth, like it's there, it's here, it exists. Like how much further down the wormhole do I want to be, even though I'm fully, but I believe down the wormhole already. But like how much further? Like that's always the question, which I think kind of brings a little bit of anxiety. Um, and so, but we were at this location and it was a very beautiful location. Lots of fishing. There was other folks there. And it just so happened that, I brought night vision, and of course, this is probably where, amateur hour kicked in, and always check your tools before you go in the woods because this was only like a 4-year-old night vision thermal, monocular, and it did stop working. It's like, oh, perfect. So like I got
Well, to your credit, really quickly, who knows if this is true, but you may have checked it at home. It would have been fine. And as we know, in lots of paranormal situations, batteries drain, things just get kind of wonky. So that may not have been you guys' fault.
Thank you for the grace. Yes. I would say
Little
that
bit.
a little bit. Also my fault.
Well, no, I really do think that may have been exactly what happened. That thing may have even worked in the car before you're really needing to use it because it's like somehow they or whoever knows it's just a test. They're like, oh, yeah, it's working A-okay. And then you go to actually use it when you need it and nothing.
Yeah, that's right. That's happened a time or two with like walkie-talkies that you think you'll charge them will be in the woods and they're just dead.
Yeah.
Body reporters, they're just dead. But no, that makes sense. Although if you are at least on the fence with the woo side of Sasquatch, like it makes perfect sense.
Does that monocular, did it work after you left again, the thermal?
It's still completely messed up, but like I've never had this issue, and I actually have to send it back to the company and like this whole rigmarole. So
yeah,
I don't know what happened to that thing, but
that's a bummer because those can be pretty expensive.
It's expensive, and like it's been in its box. Like I moved it from one location to the other, and that was it. And like you meaning to tell me that this thing is completely jacked up, crazy.
That sucks.
Yeah, if there's anything about the story, it's that's the craze of it. But then we tried to kind of go out. One of the people that I was with heard this. It was almost like an inhale growl, which I can't quite. They couldn't replicate it. I don't even know how to replicate that, but it was like this inhale growl. We might have heard some rock tapping, and one night there was actually one of the campers there had a dog. I was a little bit, probably younger and had a lot, energy and all that thing. And we were sleeping or we were getting ready to go to bed rather, and kind of hear this, I don't know, again, girl, it kind of sounded like a dog chewing on something, when they're really intensive chewing on something, you kind of hear that dog like doing that thing. But then you hear another dog do some barking and get aggressive. And I was thinking, oh, it must be another, that other couple who have dogs and they're getting into it. So I thought really nothing of it. But then it just got kind of intensified. And the woman, I suppose, who owned this like black lab, she just lets out this shrill of a scream, which caused a lot of campers to come out of where they were sitting out of their commode and come check and see what was going on. I didn't, and I don't know if that was wrong of me. It seems wrong of me as I'm saying it, but it's like, oh, well, she's yelling there's 2 dogs, she's yelling, okay, I get it, right? Like, what am I going to do? But later on, I ended up talking to kind of the owner of the campground, and these people had left the next morning because what they saw was something big and dark kind of go into the wood line, snap and pop a bunch of tree limbs or sticks or whatever. This dog, whether it was ran in to follow it or did something, but ended up getting like a torn ear. So they had to go to a vet, and like that's what made them leave. And then I kind of asked the owner of the place, and they said, have you ever experienced any of this stuff? And he goes, well, back in 2019, she was with a family member or something like that, and they were on a four-wheeler. Went off one of these logging roads, and she saw this 3 to 4 foot, not even, maybe like 3.5 foot, right, figure. And the best way that this woman could describe it, Shannon, was it had like the hair of the girl from The Ring, and it was kind of long and lanky, but this was where I was like, well, I don't know what you saw, because she said that this thing had on like a triangle hat, and it was all she see was this figure in this hat was all like kind of like a black and grayish color. So I mean, I would love for someone to be like, oh, yep, that's this type of cryptid, or this is that type of, extraterrestrial, this is a gray, maybe she saw a gray, I don't know, an alien, I don't know. But that description with like the hair and like the wearing almost like a triangle hat, like a pilgrim hat, like what are we talking about here? And she was like, I almost can't talk, but she frankly like stopped talking to me about it. Because she just didn't want to think about it. So interesting stuff going on in that place.
That is very interesting. Have you, in particular, because I'm not that my brain always works so well, like a steel trap, as they say. No. Have you ever heard of in any subject, a triangle hat? What that might be in relation to, or a nod to?
I couldn't even imagine. No, I have no idea. What it almost, and then my brain starts trying to think of like what that could have meant, what she could have seen. Was the hat actually the head? Was the hat something like, was it bouncing a rock in its hat that looked like a triangle? Was it that, but the unfortunate thing is that this person didn't want to get into any more detail and talk about it anymore. So I can only kind of surmise, but then I don't know if you're familiar with very early Genesis with Peter Gabriel. There's a song called Watcher of the Skies, and early days Genesis, Peter Gabriel would kind of wear all these different, theatrical costumes and things like that. If you take a look at that, he has this like cape, but then he's wearing this like head gear that's a triangle. And that's what my mind kind of went to, is like, okay, maybe the cape was the hair, let's just say, and the head or the hat of this thing was actually the head. But that's so not a Sasquatch depiction that I don't know what you saw. But I also, like, again, this is where I don't know everything there is about cryptozoology or aliens or anything like that, right? Where it's like, I could see the alien part being like the head, but where there's long hair, like the girl from, The Ring, like it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah,
I don't know. First time I've ever, in many years of this topic and subject, have I ever heard something like that.
Yeah, that's a unique one. I mean, if it actually was a hat of some sort and taking out whatever it was that, it was on top of, the hat itself just sounds something more ritualistic, or, a costume, like you were mentioning a cape. Yeah, who knows? But
Right.
that's very unique. So if anybody out there, if this made anyone's ears perk up, please reach out because
Oh, please.
there's I would love to have some kind of corroboration because anytime I go, I don't think I've ever heard that before. As you well know, that doesn't often happen. So
I did the same. So yeah, that's
yeah,
right with it.
yeah, that is very interesting. Okay, so before you continue, do you believe that since they can make people ill, that then they can also heal if they want to? If this is what's going on, if these are Sasquatch and this is what's doing.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the fact that a couple things. If I look back at the Washington incident, is what I'll call it. It's like it was the idea that I was communicating with Yuki. She said, "Okay, this is it. Like I can't go further than this." And like this is also where you're always you have to ask yourself questions like, am I just purely nuts? Am I imagining all of this? Like, well, of course she couldn't come further because then she would have to show herself. And if she didn't show herself, then I'm insane, right? That type of a thing. So it's like, well, but she didn't show herself. And she, in my mind's eye, she took this fruit, maybe had a handful of it, and left. But then what happened that night with everyone kind of getting ill, whether mentally or physically, or, the one person kind of wandering around camp in the middle of the night and then just doing weird things. It was like, was that something else? And this is where I kind of, you start guessing at what's happening, in reality and what are in their thoughts and all sorts of things where it's like, okay, well then, did Yuki not show herself because there was this other bigger creature entity who wanted to kind of like, just study us or do whatever thing? Like nothing was taken. Like we didn't get any tree knocks or any trees get knocked down, or there was like, it was all pretty chill besides just this stirring of people and like, is that more, is there some negative spiritual entity that is here open things up for amusement? Like that's what it seemed like. It just seemed like this was not, it seemed like if there was an energy, it was, let me see how much I can mess with these people, if I had to guess.
Yeah, and that was actually the very next thing that I wrote down. I put deception, demonic, the D word, anxiety, and stress because as you well know, I'll say it again. Anytime there's anxiety, stress, all these things going on, they say that you are more susceptible to being deceived and to have dark things kind of attached to you in some way. And yeah, maybe that's the nail on the head with the whole thing. Yeah, and does that also mean that that ties in with your remote viewing abilities? Not that I'm saying you're not doing it, but I don't know. Maybe all of it is tied in somehow.
I think it's, there's some sensitivity that I am kind of acknowledging that I have, and been interested in this topic and the paranormal for a long time, ever since a child, and being very drawn to the spiritual side. And even, I'll say something too that like I've not really, or totally, maybe even family members about, but like being very young and having the thought that we've been here before, almost a Buddhist type of mentality, but having that thought as a young child and thinking, wait, have I been here before? And kind of having this feeling of, oh, you'll know later that you've been here before, that we've all been here before, that we're in this is a cycle. Like, it's funny enough, I'm not Buddhist, but that sure seems to be like, I think the Buddhist, from what I understand, like the Buddhist, belief is that this is a very cyclical life and things like that. But So even as a very young kid, I'm talking like 6 or 7, like this is where I would have those thoughts and question like, well, what is it? Like, what is life? How did we get here? What am I supposed to learn? All of those were very young for me. Um, and so I would always kind of consider myself very sensitive to that. And I was with someone in high school, and they were also that way. So it was kind of like this kismet, very twin-like energy, and following them to college, and they ended up actually uh, passing away in a car accident. And but the crazy thing was is that literally this was maybe like a month or so prior. We had a conversation of, okay, if one of us passes away, you have to haunt the other, right? And so sure enough, like we had a conversation, and I was living in one location. I moved, and like get the news that this person passed away. But it was very close. I mean, we dated, we were very connected. So that was super hard, but it was almost like, again, just kind of this theme of you're tapping in something that's yet to happen, or you're kind of seeing through this veil a little bit. And I mean, I got to tell you, in like my day-to-day life, like I don't think about this because it's a lot to handle to me. And it's just easier not to. It's easier to kind of just, oh, I'm gonna watch the ball game and not think about the weird stuff. Like, I just want to be maybe one of those people, right? Who like just watches sports and things like that. But it's like, no, there's always going to be this like other side. And so, um, and one of I mean, again, the reason why this person was so drawn to them, and they were into Reiki. The mom was into Reiki. And I remember being on the Reiki table, and if for anyone who doesn't know, Reiki is like energy healing, but it's without touch. So it's truly just some kind of gliding their hands, maybe like an inch or so off your body, and you can feel that, right? There's one time where I was on a table, and this amazing mom that this person had, um, put her hand over my quote unquote third eye and opened it. And I remember looking up at her and literally jumping off the table, because I was like, wait, were my eyes open or were they closed? Because I didn't know. And she goes, no, I just opened your third eye. And I'm like, can you close it? Because I just saw you clear as day. And she's like, well, we can try. So
You're like, time out.
yeah,
That was
it
too
was literally, I
much.
saw her looking over me with her eyes closed, and it was like, okay, well, wait a minute. So
So did she try? So did she have you lay back down and try to close your third eye? Do you think that was
I
ever
mean,
closed, or?
I would suspect that, like, yeah, okay, it's closed. Like, once you acknowledge it and, like, it's open and now it's closed. Like, I don't know if it was like, okay, now it's closed. You can try closing your eyes. Do you see me? No, I don't see.
Yeah.
Okay, it's closed, right? So, like, we didn't,
Yeah.
it was just, but that, I don't know if that was like the genesis, literally to call that word out again. If that was the start of all of this or just the acknowledgement of all of this, but, um, there's certainly periods of my life where I'm just like, yeah, that's okay. Freeze frame, that's a moment, and try not to get overwhelmed by all the moments of the freeze frame that I have.
Yeah. Which, with all that, could be very easy to do. I mean, note to self: go to a Reiki master and get your third eye popped, because I've certainly
Yeah,
needed something to happen for a long time. Careful what you wish for, though, right?
yeah.
So, uh, before you continue on, did you end up having any activity after this very close friend of yours
After
passed?
after the what I would say is the dog got attacked. No, that was it. But so that's, I guess, to go back to your question, it's like, it doesn't really prevent me from going back out there in the forest, right? Because I think that there is something to be, there's adventure, there's excitement. I just don't want it negative. Like, that's to me my biggest, like, why does it have to be that, man? I kind
Yeah.
of get into my like real like earth shoes, like grassroots, like just mellow out, right? Type of thing. Um, but it's concerning in that, like, if something does show itself, or if we do have an experience. I mean, this time I'm going out with very close friends and family, and I don't want them to have a negative experience. I don't want to have that type of negativity. We're just simply going out there to try to, have some type of encounter, but not a negative one, right? So, what I thought was what's challenging with that is, like, even when we went to Washington, it's like we had zero intention. At least I and like this other person, like these other two people, we didn't have any negative intentions at all. So why this start? And so, go ahead. You have a question?
Sorry, yeah. So maybe that's why that goes back into our thinking of maybe it is something else, just kind of going, oh, you're gonna step aside, my
Yeah.
turn, time to, messing with humans
Well,
time, right?
maybe that's why Yuki was like, "This is as far as I can go," because
Right.
I can't show myself. I can't be here. You shouldn't be here. These woods are not
Hmm.
you. Like, now in hindsight, I guess I wasn't picking up that message. Um, but the funny thing is, going back to the triangle hat, that was the image that I kept seeing when I closed my eyes. Was just this like red and orange, like truly like a flaming kind of triangle.
Hmm.
So I don't know. Again, if anyone's listening knows what the hell that is in demology, that'd be great to know. Because if that's what we were tapping into, I don't want that.
It makes you wonder if, and I suppose there would be, because most things have hierarchies and uh, seniorities of some sort, I suppose, if you're out in the woods and Yuki wants to talk with you and Yuki's cool, she's laid back, she's not going to mess with you.
I mean,
But
she
then
was always kind of, yeah.
if these other things come in, maybe she has to go, I'm out. I don't,
When I kind of looked at, like, I felt as if she was like the guardian, so to speak, and
yeah,
kind of guiding me and like drawing me somewhat closer. And then we just happened to be in this park where it's like, okay, if that's where you are, and you're able to come down this mountain as quickly as she did. Um, but then to be like, this is it. Like, I gotta go. You should probably go. Type of a thing. And like, I just wasn't picking it up. Like, that's not
but
on.
so she did say you should probably go before things went down. Really, she did say that to you?
Not in so many.
Right, but when you
Open
look
word.
back, you're going, that's what
But I was like,
she's,
oh, that's what she was signaling.
yeah.
This is like a quick hit. I'm here. I'm gonna acknowledge you. I'm gonna show you how big I am. Like, kind of show you this silhouette of myself. Massive, just
Yeah.
huge head, shoulder. Like, I would have felt that was a 10 foot, 14 foot. I mean, just a massive male. Well, like that I'd have expected. But like, oh wow, you are a massive female. Like, that was just, that kind of played back and forth in my mind a little bit. But yeah, I didn't. If she was leaving me the breadcrumbs of, okay, I'm heading down. No, I'm not gonna show myself because that's too much. And have a good night. Well, like, oh, I didn't. Then some way people didn't. How bit of a guardian is she if she's not gonna like leave now, right?
Yeah. She's
But
like, have fun with the others.
yeah, what I have listened, what we have said, I
Right.
don't know if I would have said, all right, well, you told that Sasquatch I was kind of connecting with. She said we should probably leave. Like, would we have listened, right?
Right.
So it's just challenging.
I mean, I wouldn't have. I'm sure you probably wouldn't have either. Even if she said straight out, there's other things out here they've got eyeballs on you too. You're not gonna have a great night. Maybe I would probably be like, we're
That,
fine.
I mean,
We're out here for this.
right. If that was the message I would have received, I would have probably said something, but like, okay, well then let's just make it a quick night. But like, no,
Right.
that's when everything happened. I mean,
Right.
everyone was in dead asleep, and then bam, like physical sickness, mental sick, like anxiety, someone wandering around camp, and they were also sleeping, trying to like gather things up. It's like, what for what? Yeah, and it just was such a stir, as I can kind of keep coming back to.
See, and without this 3 to 4 foot tall figure with the Samara hair and the triangle hat, if that was not in the picture, I might lean, and who knows, it might still be this, but I would lean more towards her mate or some other Bigfoot from another quote unquote clan coming in and messing, an infrasound or whatever the situation that was going on there.
mm,
But with this other entity, creature,
it-
whatever the heck it is, it
yeah, I
adds
mean,
another layer to it.
it wasn't coming from her,
Yeah.
is all I can say. Like, if there is a Yuki out there, and I said yes just because I try not to like go down that route. I mean, I just said for my own, I think, mental capacity, it's like I gotta maybe calm it down, and I don't know why, but that's just kind of where I lean towards. Probably because this could get really deep really quick, and I don't know how far deep I want to go.
I
Or can't
understand
go.
that.
But I think she had good intentions. Whatever affected us did not have good intentions, and that's also where it's like wherever you go, camping. I mean, there's energy everywhere. You walk into a gas station, you can feel a negative energy. Like, and there's a reason for that. At least that's where I mean, I don't. Again, I don't know if it's because I do kind of am self-declared sensitive, but although I've heard it being told for me from other folks. But it's like, yeah, that's where I want to have a good time. If we have a interesting experience where we see something walking across the woods, like a Patty from the Patterson Gimlin footage, okay, cool. Like didn't seem to be any type of a threat there. Like that's what I'm looking forward to. Versus anything else.
Once you got home, did you try to connect with Yuki and ask her, hey, what the heck was up with all that? Did you get any information?
Great question. I put it on the shelf for a while just because one of the friends, again, they never had, from what I understood, any type of anxiety, and they were having a massive panic attack, and it was like, that's not something and I think, candidly, I already knew the answer was, no, that's not something that she did. That's something else. I don't know, she couldn't potentially say what it was, otherwise maybe she would have already said it. But then she would, again, kind of continue to show me, or at least I would have these images of the forest and what she's doing, where she's at, and like, just kind of, no, this is the forest. Everything is calm. Like, and maybe in that there's like the reason, like, yeah, no, there are areas of the forest that are calm and that are home, and there's other areas where you don't go to, just like potentially any other metropolis of a state or city, right?
Yeah. There's bad alleyways you don't go down. You just go.
And it's just like
Bad parts of
it's
town.
the same world, just different locations.
Yeah, you just walk down a bad alley. That's all.
Yeah,
So
and
you
there's
kind of
demons in
said, that's a real demony alley. We're
Yeah.
gonna,
Yeah.
that's
No,
like
just-
East Side Vegas. Let's go. So you're going. I'm from East Side, so sorry if anyone's listening. I'm from East Side, Las Vegas, so that's me making fun of myself. Okay, everybody. Okay, so I'm sure I have a couple people listening locally. They're going, well, what the hell, Shannon? So you said you're going out soon again, and you're going to have some family members and things. So are you going to go out and have the same intention and close your eyes and try to talk to Yuki and try to connect in that way? Or are you going to go out and try to close yourself off as much as you can?
I think my angle is to have the hardest part with that is like I can't prove this feeling or these thoughts. That's the hardest bit. Like, yeah, I can have you bury something in the backyard and tell you what it is and what you buried it in, but like I don't know. Where's the explanation that? I think that
Yeah.
to me is the hardest part. And so even if I were to do that and meditate and have, God forbid I would have, the same triangle shape, it'd be like, okay, buckle up, everyone. Like either that or we got to get out now. Yeah, yeah, I would think that I just want the grounded, physical, yep, I heard a snap, pop, howl, smell, like more cover the senses, but not necessarily like the sixth sense, if that's what you would call it, right? Like then, okay, let's cover the five. I'm cool, but then anything beyond that, like and this is with this conversation. It's like that's what I have to now think of, and I've been thinking of ever since we've booked this trip. And even the past trip I was on is like, all right, am I ready? Like that's constantly the question, and I think a lot of Bigfooters out there are like that. Like, what are you doing out there? If you're, yeah, of course, you're always ready all the time. It's like, but you hear of people who say that, and they're not ready. Like, you're never ready. Is kind of my experience with all the literature I've read and all of the, explorers and the fact that like people have gone to such extents, even like, having friends where it's like they've gone to a certain side and realize that either you're not coming back or the side's not what you think it is. And that is, I'm sorry, I thought that was pretty profound. Can I get a little bit of props there, Shannon?
I wanted to make sure I didn't interrupt that thought. I like that. I do
Say that
like
again.
it. You're like, mic drop.
Yeah. So there's your fortune cookie for today. But yeah, it's like that to me is the mind-boggling bit of it's like, oh man, I just want it to be like this, like, relic hominid. Like let's let it be that. Like, even though I think in my heart of hearts there's probably something more to it than that, which is there's not that crowd in the Bigfoot community. I think it's even a little bit smaller, so it's a little bit more confining, and it's like if I don't know how confident I am in my ability or b my willingness to kind of come out with that, because that's a different swimming
Yeah.
pool.
Yeah, it is. You even just begin to bring up anything like that in regards to Bigfoot, and you'll get attacked for it. So, and I'm sorry. So you will be sitting in a camping chair and closing your eyes, or you don't know yet if you're gonna. And I don't want to pin you on it. Maybe you just don't know if you're just gonna feel it out. Maybe I don't know.
Well, I don't know if this is a cheap, comedic way of. But it's like, oh, let's see what happens after a couple beers. Like that's when I get my little very cocky, and so like, let's see if a little bit of that, like,
But maybe that also is
liquid
part
courage.
of just relaxing your mind and whatever the gateways are that open you up to those sorts of things too.
It totally. It's liquid courage, right? So it's just like, I'll try that, and I'll have to report back. Yeah, I'll give it a shot.
Why not, right?
I mean, mental or physical sickness, those will pass.
Yes, eventually, hopefully, yes. No, I'm just kidding. So, and if this is too personal, you can just tell me to squash this, but this line of questioning, everyone that's going out with you, are they aware of what's going on and maybe what could happen?
I'd probably have to explain it to them a little bit more, but they certainly don't know of this past experience that I'm sharing, which is
Okay.
some listeners, even myself, I admittedly agree that like you're about to share this, covertly with listeners, but yet not these people. It's like, well, yeah, because that could open up a bunch of can of worms for them that they don't need. And so, and
Right.
if anything, I'm protecting them and not the listeners. So sorry, everyone. Like that's
Yeah.
kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. No, I do understand that. Well, I do hope you report back. I know that you will. And I haven't forgotten about our own RV test. If you're up for it,
Yeah,
we can
yeah,
touch base on that. That would be interesting. I will warn you though, because of my line of questioning as far as whether it's your connection with the person or how sensitive they might be. It could be a combination of both, right?
yeah,
You may not have a very easy time with me because I'm not sensitive at all. So,
yeah. No,
yeah.
I mean, I do have a question for you, but I don't know if I want to ask it on the air or off. But it's about someone.
Okay.
So
You can, yeah, let's just, because if I want it in, it'll be too late. So, yeah, go ahead.
and this is just a person's name. Is there someone named Mark that you know? No. Okay. Cool. That's all I need to know.
Not yet.
Okay.
If someone named Mark shows up at my door later,
Yeah.
I am getting a hold of you.
Amazon driver. His name Mark. So help me.
Yeah, and he came right through the front window or something crazy, right? You're
Yeah.
like, well, there's Mark for you. I mean, I do know Marks, but nobody that, jumped out that's
I mean,
anything
that's
going on right now.
I'd
But
rather have that. So that's where I'm like, okay, English.
I will hazard to say, though, it's probably not just nothing. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Considering how our universe works and all the things that you've told me and all the things I've heard over 10 years, it's probably not nothing. I'm just not putting it together right now. I'm not trying to make it into something it's not. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I mean, and everything kind of reveals itself, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
Yeah.
So I will keep that in my mind, and obviously we're in touch and we'll just see what happens.
No, and then
I
that's the
know
other trick bag.
that
And
is
then it's
true.
like, yeah.
That's true. That's true. But if something, over the top happens, that's something different that I wouldn't be able to make happen or control, then that's something. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I'm
There
glad
was
that you brought
another,
that up.
and it's hard because when I asked the question, because I was like, okay, no, I'm going to do the show. And I wonder if I could tap into something prior to the show to kind of talk to you about it. And I think it gets a little bit sensitive. So that's where I guess I don't want to mention it. But like, it was like, okay, well, what's your name? I heard Mark, but then I heard another name. And the tricky thing about kind of doing all of this when you're in like this weird, it's not REM sleep, but you're in this kind of awake yet dreaming. It's very kind of fluid. Is that you kind of tend to forget stuff unless something is super like,
Yeah.
remember this, which is kind of the signals that I get. Have rather. But yeah, that's if I can think of the other name or if it comes back to me, I will share it with you.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, what's the other name?
And
But yeah, if that pops in, get in touch. Let me know.
yeah,
But
for sure.
I appreciate you being willing to share all of this so far, and hopefully it's an ongoing situation. Positive though, right?
Yeah,
We don't need any more
always.
sickies or anxiety and all this other stuff.
Yeah,
Positive all the way around. So thank you.
yeah, no, thank you, Shannon.